We are now up to ECL2 section letter decoding criteria. Now this was situated in the first month when I started the alphanumeric sub, which is a list of sort of objective criteria to decide whether or not anybody who is deciphering alphabet letters as a scientific match. So we have about 10 to 11 matching criteria. Type match: does the shape of the letter you guess match the letter you are conjecturing it to? For example, some have argued that letter M is based on the shape of an owl, whereas it makes more sense that letter M is based on the shape of the sickle. So, and we have order match. Letter Z is the seventh letter of the qubit. Matches with letter Z being the seventh letter of the alphabet. So we have a good match here. There's value match. For example, T equals 300. T enters the 300th value level. And if we read Leiden I-350 papers, we see that Thoth mixed the letters at the Stokia or lunar stanza number 300. We also note that phonetic match. For example, letter R matches with words we use such as ram or red. Qubit match, scientific match. In chemistry, delta means change or fire. In mathematics and chemistry, or heat. So this should match scientifically with what we find etymologically. Etymological match. When you would look up words such as geometry, it might be helpful to find that the letter G derives from a god whose phallus is 90 degrees. That's a good match. Religio-mythology. It's been long noted that Abraham and Brahma, the supreme god of the Hebrew-based religions, Brahma, supreme god of the Hebrew religions, both have number 100 values associated with them. Brahma dies at age 100. Abraham fathers at 100. That gives us a match. We should have sign dominance. That means that if we find a candidate letter in the hieroglyphs, it should not be some spurious sign that we find carved on a cave wall, but it should be repeated year after year for thousands of years. So this table hasn't been made yet, but the idea is that eventually this will be made into a spreadsheet, and each value will be given a ranking, and we'll be able to determine which letter has been decoded most accurately, or whether you're how scientific, how exact of a science you are as with respect to an alphabet historian. ENAD order was how I got into alphabet decoding. The first two clues being that Gerald Massey stated that shoe here's the books I have by Gerald Massey, The Natural Genesis, and his lectures, but in his ancient Egypt, Light of the World, Volume 1, he says that Atlas is the Egyptian shoe. So that gives us a clue that the Egyptian air god who separates heaven from earth is the same as the Greek air god Atlas who separates the heaven from earth. And if you look up in Barry's dictionary, we go to 532. This is his Aesop Cephi dictionary. We see that Atlas and Alpha both equal 532, which we cannot take as a random coincidence, meaning that the first letter of the Greek alphabet and the name of the Greek air god were both designed from the before Hesiod and Homer. So that gives us the fact that letter A, it means air, and it maps to the shoe god. And we also have that in Barry, likewise, theta has been mapped to the Egyptian Enod, which is theta is the 9th letter. The Nephthys sign is the 9th unit on the cubit ruler. And then if we go to Barry, page 73, he maps, citing Porphyry, and among others, that theta is a letter that has been mapped previously to the Enad, or the 9 gods of Heliopolis. So this gives us a starting point, if we want to decode things, to the fact that letter A has to have something to do with air and the shoe god, or Atlas, and that the Enad has something to do with, the theta has something to do with the 9th letter. We also note that the Ogdode supposedly, according to current models, gave birth to the Enad in a certain rescript of Egyptian mythology. So that gives us a clue that the Ogdode, these 8 gods, somehow came before theta. That's why 8 is before 9, and that 8 gave birth to 9. This was argued clearly by Gary Greenberg in his 100 Myths of the Bible, who said that the 8 gods of the Ogdode were basically water gods that gave birth to the Enad during a certain recension of Egyptian cosmology. So now we have Shu equals A, Ogdode equals 8, and theta equals Enad. And as touched on, we have cubit order, where we see that the air god is symbol of the ostrich feather is at the 2nd position, equals Shu. Jab the goose is is at the 4th position, which maps to letter G. Z, the zoo animal, is at 8, which matches to letter Z being at the 7th letter. And the Nephthys head sign is at letter 9. This gives us a framework to understand the first 9 letters of the alphabet. Such as shown here, we see A, Ogdode, Theta, and we see water having something to do with letter N, which gives us our starting point.